everybody. So I'm just going to share my screen and then I will take you through our Power BI presentation. So bear with me a moment. Just pick my screen. Okay, I'm just going to make it full screen. Can you see that okay, Val?
Yep, nice and clear.
Excellent, excellent. Brilliant. Okay, so I'm just going to move you guys over there. Brilliant. So today we are going to be showing you the Power BI solution that we use for technology partners that's available to customers that we have designed to work with the Sage 200 solution. What I'll do is I'll just take you through some of the example dashboards we have. One thing to note is that these are some examples that some of our customers are already using and ones that we are obviously going to be presenting on the demonstration today, but we are able to customize the Power BI dashboards. So when we go through showing them today, if there's something that you like the look of, but maybe you want to make some changes to it, or it might give you an idea of some form of dashboard that would be useful to your business, we can customize them. We can create brand new dashboards. So if you're looking for something specific, then obviously Steve can have a conversation with you afterwards about what you're looking for, and then obviously we could look into what work would be required to do that. So I'll take you through, we've got two different sections. So we've got financial reporting dashboards, and then we've got commercial reporting dashboards. So financial reporting dashboards, we'll just go through first. That's going to be things like, our aged debtors and our P&L and things like that. And then our commercial one is going to be more focused on things like stock control, sales order processing, and like things in relation to delivery addresses and salespeople. So first of all, just to take you through what we can see and what we can do in Power BI. Now, what you can see is on the left-hand side, we have this main menu. Now, one thing to note is when you do have Power BI, you can pick and choose what areas of the dashboards different users have access to. So, this might be important on the commercial dashboards where you're maybe looking at like sales order dashboards. You might want, salespeople to only see their orders. We can do that, so we can restrict what they can see. So, your managers could see everything, but the salespeople could just see information that was relative to them within the screen. Okay. So if we take a little look through what we can do. So first off, we got our summary dashboard. This is just basically giving us a financial overview. So, what's our revenue? What's our profit? What's our margin looking like? How many customers do we have in total? And then making use of our nominal accounts in the system, we can see things like breakdown of expenses by cost center, income by cost center, and we can also see income by period. You can change the financial year that you're looking at. So if you did want to go back to previous financial years, or you just want to view the current financial year, you can pick and choose the financial year you're looking at just with the drop down up here. If we just navigate through some more of the dashboards, so we've got a creditor and debtor dashboard. So this is just basically showing us our credits, our debits, what our credit percentage is, and we can see our outstanding debt then is broken down by customer. So this is just to give you an overview of that debt and show you which customers basically owe you the biggest piece of the pie, should we say, for that outstanding debt. We can also see things like, cash on hand for the last 12 months and so on. So this one is more just a visual representation. If we then take a look at our aged debtors, this is where it's actually going to show us all of those outstanding transactions. So basically what we're going to be seeing in here is all the transactions in the system, and we can see it broken down by customer. So what we could simply do is we could just click on a particular customer on the right hand side. And then with Power BI being interactive, when you make selections on certain things, it'll filter and change the items on the rest of the screen. So as we're clicking on the different customers, we can see the totals at the top changing and the transactions changing on the screen. Now we could drill down into the transactions and get a bit more detail, but this is just giving us an overview that, this particular customer, Barking Builders, owes us over £59,000. These are the transactions that make up that balance. And depending on how your data was split, you'll see it aged over a certain period of time. And the defaults are 30 days, 30 to 60 to 90, and then over 90 days. You can see with my system, I'm not very good at chasing debt. So everybody's over 90 days, but it'd be broken down the values at the top. Okay. If you want to go back to viewing all information, you simply just click off and then it'll go back to showing you the information for all of the customers on the screen. Again, you'll see as we look through various different screens, we have filters across the top. Again, these can be customized if there was certain things you were looking to filter by, but we could filter by a particular account. We could filter by a particular transaction type. Maybe you're looking for a specific invoice or something like that, or you could filter by things like due dates. Another area we have is our P&L summary. So this is obviously just giving us the P&L summary for the business as a whole. So we can see things like, our revenue, our gross profit, our gross margin, our operating margin, etc. And again, what it's using is it's using our reporting categories that are set up on the nominal ledger. So we can see things over here. We've got like export sales, UK sales. And again, we can make a selection. We can click on an individual item. It'll then filter everything on the screen to then show us that particular selection. So if we look at salaries and wages, for example, we can then see the breakdown of those salaries and wages. And again, we've got our filters across the top. We can choose our financial year, our accounting period. We could filter by an individual or multiple reporting categories, or we could even pick a particular nominal account if we were just interested in the values that related to that individual nominal account. Okay. We've also got things for balance sheets, aged creditors, and P&L deferred postings. So things like our balance sheet is again just going to give you like a visual representation of your balance sheet from Sage. Again, you can see on the left-hand side we could filter by things like financial period, reporting category, and so on. And then again, we could break it down if we want to make individual selections to see how that makes up, the total pie. Okay. If we jump down to some of our commercial reports, so if we just have a look at our sales summary, so this one is basically give us an overview of our sales. So this is going to be things like, for our sales orders and our invoices in the system, what are our totals? Now, what we can see here as we start to get into more of the commercials, we get some more visual representations of what's happening. So green is good, red is bad. So we can see, for example, what is our sales performance like year on year? So, in our what would be my current financial year, I'm 50% sales, whereas we can see in 2022 to 23, we were 307% up on the previous year. And we can see obviously all the values. Again, you could click on an individual year and then it'll filter everything that's displayed on the screen. We could click off it again to then see the whole selection. We can also see a rolling year-on-year sales, and you could choose the amount of months that you wanted to see the rolling year-on-year sales for. Okay. Then if we start getting into our sales details, this is where we can really start to get down into the finer details of analyzing the data and what's happening with our business. So we've got a few different things in here where we've split out the tabs, basically different ways of slicing and dicing the information. So the first thing we see here is we are filtering by region. So region is basically just where we are setting an analysis code, a standard Sage 200 analysis code that's set against the sales ledger accounts in the system. And it might be analysis code 1, for example, and you might have the different regions set up in there. But that's just an example of how you could use the data in Sage to then slice and dice the information in Power BI. So in this example, we can basically see the breakdown. We've got 4 main regions, and we can see the breakdown of our sales per region. Again, we can click on an individual region, so Northwest, for example, and with that, we can see that our Northwest sales are actually responsible for 18% of our total sales, and we can see what the values were in the different financial years. Maybe we want to analyze it for Scotland. Again, we can just click on Scotland. We can see they're actually responsible for 1.93% of the sales. But the idea behind this is showing you the power of BI being able to, slice and dice that information. Maybe you wanted to do something where you wanted to view sales commissions, for example, and if you were using the analysis codes in Sage to record the salesperson's name, then you could then pull that through into Power BI, and you could be looking at things like, how many orders have they generated, what was the margin on those orders, and then you could obviously work out commissions and things from there. We could also break it down by customer. So here we can see all of the customers. We could scroll down and get through to any customers we want to see. Again, we can see red is bad, so we've sold less to them this year versus previous years. Green is good. And again, we can pick on individual customers. So we could pick Abbey Retail, for example, and then we can see for Abbey Retail, they are responsible for 1.93% of our sales, which was just over £10,000. You can also see on the graph here that it's showing you where that sales is, peaking and dropping, throughout the financial year, broken down by your accounting periods in Sage 200. Okay, so we can see that, period 6 was a really good year for sales for this particular customer, but for the rest of the periods, it's kind of like, averaging out. We could pick on a different customer and we can see the information for that particular customer. And like I said, as you select each one, it's just going to filter what's on the screen. Simply click on it again if you then want to see all of the information for all of the sales on the screen. Okay. We also have something where we've done it by post name. This is for another customer where they deal with NHS trusts, and they wanted to be able to analyze their sales per hospital. So by using the postal name in Sage 200, it then gives them the ability to actually see, okay, right, well, we know we've sold to Abbey Retail this much, but which particular branch was it within Abbey Retail? You might want to break those sales down. You might have a customer where they have 10 different branches throughout the country, and you want to see which branches are buying more than the other branches. So again, you could then break that down by postal name. And again, we can click on any selections on the screen to choose what we're looking at. Again, we've got the filters across the top as well, so we could filter by individual regions, we could filter by individual even stock items, product groups, customer accounts, even individual document numbers. We can customize all of those to pick and choose what you want to see. Next, we've got it by product group. So in Sage 200, if you are using stock items, all of your stock items will be linked to product groups. The product groups are generally how you group everything together in your defaults. So if we want to analyze which product groups are outperforming others, we can then see this information in here. So it's given us the breakdown of all the different product groups. And again, we could pick on an individual product group like cooker hoods, and it'll basically change the information on the screen. We can see the sales per product group spread over our financial year, and we can see what value of sales that particular product group is responsible for. So for this one, it's only 0.21% of our sales. If we were to look at accessories, for example, we could see they're actually responsible for 7% of the sales. Okay. Now, if you wanted to take it another level, we could even analyze the data by individual products. So again, we could, if we wanted to select a particular product, if you know what the name of the stock item is, you can just type it in, or you can just tick multiples at the same time. But once we have the stock items we want to see, again, we could click on an individual stock item, and again, it's going to show us then that that stock item was responsible for 0.12% of our total sales, and we generated 10 grand in the 2023 financial year. You may want to analyze it by product volume instead. So instead of just seeing the actual value, the monetary value, maybe you want to understand your actual movements. So, what kind of stock volumes have you got in and out and so on. So again, this show by product volume dashboard is going to show you that. So it's going to break down all the different stock items. We can see the actual quantities that we have, and then obviously we can see how those quantities have changed. Have we brought in more stock? Have we brought in less stock? And again, we could pick on individual ones, or we could filter to break the information down. Okay. Moving on, we also have a revenue on our commercial side as well. So this one's really interesting because what we can do is we can see the total revenue, we can see it broken down by customer, but also we can see it broken down by salesperson. So again, this is just making use of an analysis code field in Sage 200. So on the sales ledger account, you would basically set who is the account manager. Standard Sage 200 functionality, when you create a sales order, it can pull through that person's name from the sales ledger account to the sales order, and then it gives you that kind of tracking to see, okay, well, this is the salesperson, this is the person who's processing the sales order. Obviously you could change it if a different person maybe got shared regions or something like that. You could change it on the fly, but otherwise it's then going to give you that analysis, so you can actually see which of the salespeople are generating the sales. So we can see Alan Ward's sales, we can see Jim's sales, and again, if we click on Alan Ward, it's then going to filter and show us, okay, well, these are all the customers that Alan has sold to, and we can see the breakdown of the values per customer that he's selling. And you can see on the right hand side as well, we can see the total percent of the sales as well. Maybe we wanted to see it for Phil. Again, we can just click on Phil. We can then see the different customers that Phil is selling to, and again, how that's broken down within the system. Okay. Again, we could filter across the top using our filters. You can also see there's like a summary across the top as well, just basically showing you the monetary values broken down by period. We also have a stock item dashboard. So this is just giving you an overview of your stock. So it's basically just showing you the different stock items and what you actually have in stock within the system. And again, you could filter by individual stock items if you just wanted to make a selection. Now, again, this could be useful then if you want to get a kind of an overview of the actual stock quantities. We can see this is actually our confirmed quantity in stock, and you can see on the left hand side you could view it by the product group. On the right hand side you could view it by the individual stock item name. Okay. We also have an order book dashboard. This is basically just giving you a list of effectively all of your sales orders in the system. So very similar to your sales order list, but obviously with this, then we've got all the various different filters that we could filter by. At the top, you can see it actually shows you a breakdown. So it's showing us how many orders we have in a particular region, how many orders are completed, how many orders are on hold, etc., and how many products are spread across all those different orders. Okay, and again, this just gives you an idea of what kind of information you could get out of the system and display within the sales order processing. Now, if you wanted to, you could basically expand or collapse it by individual customer to then see the individual orders. And again, once you select on something, it's going to show you the information that's relevant to that particular order. This one is more just a list-based view, but you could have something else then feeding, so like another little mini dashboard or something on the side to then feed in some more information. And then the last thing to show you then is that if you are working with traceable stock items, we do have this traceability dashboard. Now, the way this is designed to work is that within the system, if you're using traceable items, you'll have batch or serial numbers, and you obviously need to be able to trace those. So what we can do is in the identification number, this would be your batch or serial number. You can just type in the number that you're looking for, or you could scroll down and pick an individual identification number. You could also filter by things like, your postal name or the delivery address, a specific stock code, or the financial year. And then they've got various different ways of being able to break it down. So for example, we can see the quantities, we can see how those quantities are spread out across the different items. And then we can see then if we were looking at this individual washing machine, which has this identification number of 8937 ending in 3452, we can actually see the supplier that it came from, how many were in that particular batch, which is just this one, what goods receipt number it came in on, if it was issued then to any sales orders and so on. And then every time you see a plus, you can then basically move it on the chain to see what information do you want to see. Now we've got a customer we built this dashboard for, and the reason being was that they needed a really easy way to be able to identify where particular stock items had gone, because they sell, well, one of the products they sell is heart mesh. So they literally needed to know which supplier the mesh came from in which batch, which trust it was sold to, which hospital it went to, but then also they would record as an analysis code the individual patient that it may have been fitted to. So then they could obviously have that visibility that if there was anything wrong with the batch, instead of trawling through Sage, they could just come in here, put in the identification number, and then that would allow them to basically then filter through and find out where it had come from and everywhere that it had been consumed in the business. Okay. So that's just kind of an overview of what we can do out of the box. Like I said, everything's customizable. So if there was particular dashboards you wanted us to build for you, or you just want to make changes to the existing dashboards, then we can certainly do that. To give you an example on the sales details, we have other customers where they actually want to analyze the sales of individual stock items by individual branches, and they want to know, they sell food and drink, so they might want to know, Tesco Cardiff Northwest, they only bought, 10 cartons of orange juice this month, whereas last month they bought 20. So, maybe somebody needs to give them a call and find out why they only bought 10. Do they need to get another 10 on order? So you could view things like that. Because it can show you the differences between, a negative value or a positive value. It can also give you things like forecasting. It could be saying to you, well, look, it can calculate things for you. So, well, okay, look, with your stock, for example, based on last year's sales, it could analyze your current stock levels and suggest, well, actually, look, last year you sold 1,000 units of this particular item. At this busy period of the year, you've currently only got 500 in stock. So, the suggestion would be that really you need to get some more stock in, based on previous sales. So there's lots of different things that we can get the system to do for you. If you've got any questions, then feel free to ask. But hopefully that gives you a good idea of what Power BI can do and how powerful it is. Was there any questions? Well,
Thanks, Rob. What I'll do, I'll just open up the lines for everyone now. So if anyone would like to ask anything, they can pop themselves off mute. We have had a question come through just about, obviously you've showed Power BI there working with Sage 200. Does it work with any other systems?
Yeah. So basically, it all depends on what back end the system uses, but it can link to multiple systems. That's a really good point, because another really powerful feature of Power BI is that it can bring information from different data sets together. So you might have third-party systems that you use that aren't Sage, but you still might want to analyze that data. It might be something that's specific to your business area. Again, as long as that information can be accessed and we can talk to the provider who provides that other bit of software, that information could be pulled through from the other system. Then the information can be pulled through from Sage and all pulled into a dashboard in the same place. So yeah, it can be a really powerful tool for gathering information from lots of different areas of the system and pulling it all into the same place. It saves you having to, print off loads of different reports and do Excel spreadsheets and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, you can definitely do that.
Just on that one, we've got a famous London club who use Sage 200 for their financials, but they've got a separate membership system and they've got a separate EPOS system. And we linked all three together under Power BI to do their reporting. So, yeah, that can be done.
Yeah, it can be really powerful.
Okay. Not had any other questions come through chat. The lines are unmuted now, everyone. So if you do want to ask anything, just take yourself off mute and ask away. We'll give it a minute there if anyone wants to ask anything. No, I don't think we've got anything coming through, Rob. You've obviously covered the essentials there. That's great.
Cool.
Okay, what I would say, everyone, we are recording the session this morning. I will send out a copy of it to everyone who has attended, so you can share that obviously with your team. If you do have any other questions, please feel free just to get in touch following the session, either with Steve or myself, and we'll follow up with anything you'd like individually after the session. But thanks for taking the time to join us this morning. Hope you found it useful.